What's going on, YouTube? Chris here. I want to bring you all an update today of Bitcoin. Right now we're sitting at $8,868. And what I wanted to bring to you is about 4 things that we really need to pay close attention to. What I liked about yesterday was that we closed back up above that 200-day moving average, and we closed up above it on a strong candle. Now, the only thing that I'm seeing there with that candle, we didn't have as much volume as I would have wanted with it. Because this is a pretty strong candle here, guys. As you can see, it's almost like a bullish belt hold line candle, pretty close to that, or just a long day candle. But we didn't have significant volume like I wanted. I would have liked to see volume somewhere around this range, like that, to defend this area. So that's something just on the downside that I'm looking at. We needed more volume. So the next thing I want to point out to you, though, is the fact that we are up above this 200-day and also this trend line. So this trend line has been respected now. It has been defended. So this is definitely a trend line that's strong. We have 3 touches off of it. And what we need to do today is to continue to have candle closes up above this trend line as well as that 200-day moving average. Then the next area I would target if we are to continue to move to the upside is going to be the 50-day moving average, and that's in pink. And guys, that's at $9,297. So that's an area we had a golden cross, and then what happened was we dropped right down through it. So that's actually a strange occurrence to happen. Typically when you do get those golden crosses, you'll get a nice little push to the upside. Not saying that still can't happen, but that's definitely something that you want to stay up above, and you would want to see support above that 50-day moving average as well as that 200. And a sign here that you're looking at, this candle, I was reading in my book last night. It is Technical Analysis of Stock Trends by Robert D. Edwards. And what he was talking about is when you typically get a long day candle that breaks down through the 50-day moving average on heavier volume, that's a big sign. And what you want to see is that 200-day moving average hold, and you want to get back up above that 50-day as soon as possible. We've been trading now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days below that 50-day moving average. I believe we need to get back up above that. That's going to be a significant level for us. So it's kind of one of those things. We have a mixture of bullish things, we have a mixture of bearish things, and I just wanted to point them out to you. So like I said, bullish things, we're back up above that 200-day moving average. We're respecting the trend line. We had a nice candle close here up above that 200-day moving average. And also I want to point out a Fibonacci level to you that was defended. So if we go from our swing low up to our swing high, this candle took place off this trend line at the 0.5, which is a typical retracement for Bitcoin, that 0.5 all the way down to that 0.618. In Bitcoin, you have to remember the moves are extreme, both to the upside and the downside. So when Bitcoin rips up, $1,000, $2,000 in a day, a lot of times it will retrace half of its move or all the way back to that 0.618. And if you go into the Dow theory, because what we'd be looking here is at that secondary trend, what I wanted to point out to you, I was writing this down last night as I was reading. And what it says is typically you get a retracement of this secondary trend of 1/3 to 2/3 of the prior move. So as you can see here, and they also talked about how 50% is common. From our swing low up to our swing high, we have lost 50%. So that's pretty typical. We could even go down into that 2/3, even lower than that 0.618. But that's definitely an area that you want to look for defense, that 50 and also that 0.618. And I also had a support level at 8,254. That was our previous higher low when we were moving up through this. As you see, when we're in an uptrend, we have higher highs and higher lows coming in. And now that we've been in a downtrend, we're having lower highs and lower lows. So for us to truly get out of this downtrend, what we'd want to do is draw a trend line right up here. And we'd carry it down just like this. And what we're going to try to do is get as many touches as possible. So just give me a second here. So somewhere right along that lines. Right here, guys, we would need a break out of that to the upside for us to continue this move to the upside, because whenever you have this downward resistance, you have to break through it and then you need to turn it into support. So right now in the short term, almost switching into that intermediate term, we're in a downtrend. And as I was studying and reading last night, my book was talking about for the secondary trends here, typically 3 weeks to many months is what you're going to have for that intermediate term trend. And we're getting pretty close to that 3 weeks here. So we're basically in a short term, almost an intermediate term downtrend, because this downtrend started on February 14th. So we're getting to that spot. We're heading up to that 3-week area, and we really need to get moving, and we need to get up above this 50, and we need to get up above this trend line, and also this 0.382, which is at $8,971. And I do believe Fibonacci levels are very effective, and it's something that you all need to watch. And also, as we continue through this, just really, guys, the main things I like to look at: trend lines, candlestick patterns, moving averages, Fibonacci levels, volume, and I like to use a couple indicators, but for the most part I go off price action. I don't really base anything off indicators, and I don't think you should as well. You should really look at the trend, price action, kind of see what's taking place with the buying and the selling, because remember, these candles are expressing the supply and demand, the buying and the selling that's taking place, and that's why they're so important, and it's something that we always want to pay attention to. And also, guys, if you get something from these videos, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I appreciate you all being here with me today. Right now we're at 7:40 a.m. Eastern time. It's March 3rd, 2020. So next I wanted to get into a few indicators with you. Remember, this is all on the 1-day time frame is what we're looking at right now. So in terms of indicators, we'll go into our stock first. We do have a bullish cross to the upside there. It's happening with our nice strong candle here. Thing I'm missing is that volume. You can see the volume's been pretty flat if you follow this moving average right here. So we do need those bigger swells of volume. That's going to be extremely important for us. So stock's looking pretty decent there. Next one I wanted to go to was our relative strength index. RSI is at 42. We still do have a little bit more downside pressure. And what I like to do is draw trend lines on these as well. So we'll try our best here to get a nice little trend line. So somewhere right in this area here, guys, is where I would go off of, just like that. So we would need a break to the upside here. We need to get out of that. So important. You know, whenever you do these things, the trend lines a lot of times on the RSI won't be perfect, but you can really look for these breaks, just like I saw this one right here. So if we drag that up, look what happened once we broke down through that. We had this massive drop. So if we can break through this to the upside, that's going to be important for us, because that could show an upside break, and that could be enough to start getting us over top of that 50-day moving average, because the longer you trade underneath it, the stronger resistance that you're going to have with it. And that's the tough part. You got to break through it, turn it into support. Next, I want to look at our awesome oscillator. You can see the histogram starting to tick to the positive again, so that's a good sign. And when we're looking at the candle that we have today, obviously we're not going to be closing for another 11 hours. There's a lot that can happen, but you can see how the bears pushed us back to that 200-day moving average, and there's a wick there right now. That means that there was some buying pressure that was stepping in, trying to defend this area. So like I've talked about before, this is our hot box area. This is what we're looking at right there. And we want to see if we have an explosive move to the upside, since we had such a sharp fall here, or if we're going to start dropping back down into these areas. And like I said, for support, 200-day moving average at 8,727. That's going to be the white trend line, and then I'm going to look down at 8,254 if we are to move to the downside. Next, what I wanted to do is get into trading view and just show you some of the things that are taking place here. So if we go into the technical analysis for Bitcoin, and this will just give you an idea of what's taking place, because it's going to factor in a lot of different oscillators. It's going to factor in moving averages. So we're looking at it on the 1-day time frame here right now. What this is showing is a 10 sell signal, a 10 neutral, and an 8 buy. So, you know, this is what we were talking about, is that we're just in that fight between the bulls and the bears now. It's a little more neutral, and we just have to decide which way we're going to break here, probably today or tomorrow. It's going to be pretty interesting to watch. But in terms of the oscillators, we have 1 for a sell, we have 9 for a neutral, 1 for a buy. So that's an even as it can get there. And then moving average, we have 9 for a sell, 1 for a neutral, and 7 for a buy. And that's because we've lost some of those moving averages, like the 20 and the 50 moving average, which are important in this space. And then as you go down through here, you can see from 10 all the way to that 50 moving average, we have sell signals. And then once we get to the 100 and the 200, we actually have some buy signals. And then in terms of the oscillators, it's very neutral all throughout here. So this is just really where we need the bulls to step in and to show their dominance in the Bitcoin space, because, you know, guys, these are key areas. When you break down through the 200-day moving average, typically you have a massive drop. Look at this one right here, a long day candle. We closed down through the 200-day moving average. If you would have sold out at that candle, that was at 8,743. We ended up going all the way down to 6,417. So over $2,000 right there that you can save yourself just by learning these things. And what you always want to look for in terms of penetration, you want 3 to 5% candle close down below a trend line or moving averages. So if we measure this one here, And I'm doing this, guys, just to show you so you can use this stuff for your trading. So if we go down, that was a 6%, even 5%, we'll call it 5.5% candle close. So this would have been validation right here in terms of selling out once we lost that 200-day moving average, right? And then on the back side here, do you see the 50? Once we closed strong up above it, we had this entire trend continue to move up until we just recently lost it there. So that's the importance of getting back up above it. These moving averages work, and that's why I have the 50 and the 200 on here. I also like to use the 20, which is acting as overhead resistance. You can see it crossing down through the 50 here, and then our 40. So we got a lot of overhead resistance that we have to break up through, and it's going to take volume to push us up through that. Remember, the market can naturally fall upon itself, but for it to go up, you need that buying pressure. We need strong volume to come in to really make these good moves to the upside. So my next target, if we are to move to the upside, is going to be 9,296, and that's going to be hopefully closing up above the 50 moving average. And then to the downside, we need 8,727 to hold, as well as that 8,254. We really need to get this moving, guys. We had too many days underneath the 200-day moving average. We closed up above it yesterday. We need to defend that today. So like I said, the only thing I'm really struggling with is that volume down in here. We need some heavier volume. So get some from this, guys. Let me know down low. Tell me what you're doing. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day.